Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for coming. This is the second in a series of 3 talks that Shaykh Sheikh is giving based on the huge topic of where do we go from here. Was based on a very successful talk he gave back in June on the same topic, based on a personal experience that he had, which we're trying to get that video to show you, and we just cannot seem to get around the technology of forwarding it. But he can talk about that, and actually it's available. We can send it to our membership probably more easily than we can get it onto this, and we can talk about that after.
Yeah.
I heard Sheikh say that he has two colleagues here from not in Cairo now, one in London, one in Cairo. I've been to Egypt twice. It is a glorious country. So, and my memories of my travels there are very fond and warm. And without further ado, Sheikh, take it away, please.
Hello, everybody. I'm really glad that the number that are.
Excuse me, I can't hear you well. I don't know why.
Okay, we can hear you, and everybody else can. So it might be from your end, Hamid.
At my end. Okay, I'll try to fix it.
Turn up your own volume, of course.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, we checked, and everybody can hear. So it is only your computer.
Okay, I'll try to fix it.
Okay, thanks. So the topic here is quite daunting. How can we operate in the world we are in? I would suggest that we actually have 2 entities from within us that are operating. And just to get where I am going, I'm just gonna bring a quoting from the Quran. This is the book. Are we still going?
Yes, but I'm not sure where that signal's coming from. Somebody's sharing a screen.
That's Hamdi. So,
Oh,
no, that's somebody else. That's somebody else coming.
Great.
oh.
Oh,
Okay.
oh, that's Hazem. That's Hazem from Egypt.
Ask him to stop sharing the screen.
Hi,
Yeah.
Hazem.
Hazem, can you hear us?
If he can't hear us and can't stop screen sharing, well, I guess we'd have to decide how long we're gonna wait, but I'm sure he's pushed screen share by accident, of course, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know if you can hear us or not. Yeah, I hear you. Hazem, can you hear us? Hazem, can you hear us?
Technology, never fails to fail us, you know. It's just crazy. He's a handsome man. I don't mind looking at him.
Yeah. Hazem is my
Guy,
university.
as the host, you may actually have the ability to override him. I'm not sure.
I'm looking right now, thanks.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, that worked.
Oh, good.
Oh, we
Well done.
So are we back on?
Yes.
Well done.
Okay. So
And he's there too.
So to really align ourselves to understand where we're going, we probably should look into where we came from. And the only source for me that I can go dig into that is the Quran. That's the book that I have grew up with. And as I said before, I am not a Muslim like any other Muslim because I have dug into the Quran far more than anybody I have known. And I found that the Quran can give you feedback. The more you get into it, the more you can understand. So to illustrate my point, I'm going to share with you the Surah 32 and only a few ayat from it, a few verses, and see how can we conceive what's being said. So ayah number 4 says, الله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض وما بينهما في 6 أيام. Translation: Allah is the one that created heavens and earth and what's in between them in 6 days. Now, this concept exists in the Bible, and I would presume in the Torah and in all the scriptures.
Genesis.
Genesis. Yes. I'm just saying that this is not unique in the Quran, but in it itself, it's very amazing how we can conceive, everybody, that all what we can see, heavens and earth and beyond, is all has been created in 6 days. But let's go to verse number 5, ayah number 5. That says, يدبر الأمر من السماء إلى الأرض ثم يعرج إليه في يوم كان مقداره 1000 سنة مما تعد. That he establishes the issues between heavens and earth, and the results go back to him in a day that is 1,000 years of your count. So, in a sense, how can everything could be created in 6 days? And then the managing of these issues back and forth between heavens and earth can take, again, a day that is worth 1,000 years of our counts. And then ayah number 6 says, ذلك عالم الغيب والشهادة العزيز الرحيم. This is the knowledge of the one who knows the unknown, the most dear, the most merciful. 7. الذي أحسن كل شيء خلقه وبدأ خلق الإنسان من طين. The one who has perfected everything that he has created, and he started the creation of human from mud. 8. ثم جعل نسله من سلالة من ماء مهين. And he has made the production chain line for humans that come from a very ridiculed liquid. Then 9. ثم سواه ونفخ فيه من روحه وجعل لكم السمع والأبصار والأفئدة قليلا ما تشكرون. Then, after creating human from mud, he evened him up. ونفخ فيه من روحه, and he blew into him from his soul. And I understand that this exists in other scriptures with a bit of variation, but the variation could come into translation issues from one language to another. But I'm talking here about the main concept of creating heaven and earth, the universe, as we see it in 6 days. And then managing the issues in a day that is equal to 1,000 years of our count. And then creating humans starting from mud, which is basically earthly material that we know of. And then perfects him. ثم سواه ونفخ فيه من روحي, and blew into him from his soul. وجعل لكم السمع والأبصار والأفئدة قليلا ما تشكرون. And he made you to be able to hear and see and have hearts, have guts, have operational internals. قليلا ما تشكرون, you are very little appreciating this in thanks. وقالوا آية 10 وقالوا أإذا ضللنا في الأرض أإنا لفي خلق جديد بل هم بلقاء ربهم كافرون. And they said, so if we go into earth, and this is, I would say, in reference to being buried back in earth or going back into being recycled in the environment. أإنا لفي خلق جديد, would we be recreated again? The final statement in this presentation is بل هم بلقاء ربهم كافرون. Thus, they are denying that they are going to meet their Lord. So, in here, I mean, it's a very short passage, but it tells us a lot if we can understand. How can we understand that this whole universe is created in 6 days? The problem is our understanding of a day. When humans first came into living on Earth, they thought that the Earth is flat, that all what they can see ahead and beyond, it's an extension of a flat surface. Then came to the understanding that actually it is a rounded surface. And then with the advance of science, research, human mind, knowledge, all this, they understand, no, there is more planets, there is more stars, there are more galaxies, there are more and more and more. And right now we are standing on the phase of just seeing what's out there, which is huge, beyond our understanding, but we still can get pictures and understand that it is beyond our understanding. We still are on the path of knowledge to know more. So what is the word day mean here? I would submit that Allah here is talking about a universal day, not an earthly day. Not that we cut into 24 hours to understand and to have a clock and a watch on our wrists to count time. So if now Allah is saying that He created all this in 6 universal days, that might mean that it took 6 rounds, which six revolves of the universe to revolve on itself. to be created. And understanding that the universe is still expanding, wow, that means the creation is still happening. And last time, I think when somebody mentioned, I think Hamid mentioned that Allah can do without us. The quotation from the Quran, He can replace us. But actually, our existence is very important, because if you just watch how a fetus grows into his mother's belly and comes out, grows into a child and an adult and seniors, this is part of the universe expansion. This is how this whole thing is expanding. And we are chasing it by the new inventions, trying to understand how far it goes. And we are trying to understand even inwards. How are we composed, and where does what composes the cell, and what goes into the cell, and it goes into the nucleus, and it goes into, and just recently I heard that there is a video that's going around about a virus, and how does a virus infects a cell. So whether we go far out or far in, we are still in the middle of nowhere. We are just trying to understand where we are at. But the fact that Allah has created man from mud, or humans from mud, and He blew into him from His soul. This is an introduction of life into mud, into earthly material. So that's why I'm saying we are actually two components. We are the material that we're operating, and we are part of Allah. And I have to interject here a little bit. In the English language, we have come to say God. And God, for me, I have reservation, because God is a very generic word that even people right now use the word gosh, or they just go off that concept, where Allah is a name that cannot be translated into different language. And as I grew up in Egypt, all the Christians, the Jews, the Muslims, even the atheists, the Baha'is, anybody, use the reference Allah. As far as the word God in Arabic, the translation to it is ilah, which is very close to Allah. But ilah is God, Allah is the creator. And then He added what? He added that you call Him Allah, the merciful, the mercy giver, whatever you call Him. There is a number of attributes that you can attribute to Him, as long as the intention is good. As long as the intention in mentioning His name is honorable, is not demeaning. So today, I'm not going to introduce a new word, but I am using a word that has been used recently. Consciousness. You have the universe, and you have the consciousness that have established that universe. So when you apply that to your personal life, you will see that you have two components. The material component, in which you are operating with throughout the whole thing. And then you have the spiritual component, in which actually drives your, well, here we go again to the need versus the want. Your material component always goes after what they need. But your spiritual component goes for the want. And that could be a force that drives humans into achieving whatever it is. I'll give you another example, a simpler one. Having sex, this is need. Having a child, this is want. Having food, this is need. But access, indulgence, this is want. Having a shelter is a need. But based on want, people go into building whatever, not to feel secure, but to boast about what they have. And it goes on and on and on. Well, last time, I think James mentioned God is love. Well, I heard that way back then. As I grew up, the Christian's slogan was Allah Mahabba. God is love. That's how this translates. But then when I started to travel and use English for common language, I came across the expression, let's make love. So the word love has been tinted into a different aspect. So I started to look at love, and I found that love is a concept that's goes away from hate into love and all in between. So what are we actually saying? Maybe the word care is more expressive than love. Again, that accident that I went through put me in the hospital system for 4.5 months, where my body was back into being a baby that's being cared for from all the needs, where my mind was so sharp, I was just watching what's going on there. And I could see what's like the professionals that actually put my body back together. I had 5 different operations. The physiotherapies that I went through, the people. I mean, I was completely a mush in the hands of people to put me back together. And I was watching. I was very conscientious. So I could see a lot of them really care about what they do. That's where the love is, not the love of me, but a love of the Creator, that you are putting that creation back together. You're caring for it to be able to put it back on track. And I could see those who actually care. And I could see those who actually do for whatever liberation that they're getting at the end of the month. And I could see there's a difference. Paul is with us today. The spiritual care that is in the hospital system, where is the care versus where is the job that you do? I talked with psychiatrists, psychologists, social services, chaplains, all kind of care. But the woman that actually was bathing me, I felt her care far more than the guy that was just hosing me down for cleanliness. I mean, we have to reflect on all this and find out where we are going. So if we can realize where we came from, being created by a sovereign that runs the show, that backs it up with a conscience to maintain it, to go in the direction that is intended to go, which is growing more and more and more. All the way into infinity. We cannot conceive really where we come from, but we are told that we are put together from earthly material and the essence of God, of Allah. And that's how we are created, which brings us to, okay, and from here, where do we go? Well, we all know, as a matter of absolute fact, that we all going to die. So what does that mean? Death is simply a separation between these two entities, where the material goes back into recycling within the earthly material that we came from. Doesn't matter whether we bury our dead, we cremate our dead, we throw them in the sea, feed them to the animals, whatever. It is a material that's being recycled to the better. So where does our spiritual entity goes? Well, it says here. Most people are denying that they are going to meet their creator. And this is kufr. This is denying existence. So at this point, I'd like to know how are we doing for time? It is 12:35.
Well, we could ask if the audience has any questions or comments.
Yeah, do you wanna refresh your thoughts with any discussion?
I'll refresh our tea.
They need to unmute themselves.
Oh, right. Don't forget to unmute.
Well, if not, just keep in mind, you can always raise your hand and say something. But I'm gonna go to Surah Al-Waqi'ah, Surah number 56.
I just wonder, when you were falling and you mentioned
Yeah,
you saw certain things.
Yeah.
And it happened the length of time. Were you feeling separate, like your mind was knew what was happening?
my mind was at zero still at this point. And when I saw the video later on,
Yeah,
I was so surprised that the camera actually recorded this, because that's not what I saw. What I remember vividly,
Yeah.
falling down like a bat, face down, arms spread, as I'm flying down like a bat. And the grounds underneath me was like a golf course, the green pasture. And there were 4 plots. There were 4 plots.
oh,
And the 4 plots later on I realized that was my father, my mother, my sister, my brother, all passed before me. Different times, different places on the globe. But the conversation that took place was between me and my father, telling him, I need my brain to get through this. I cannot go through this with an injured brain. And this, of course, was a split second in reality, because the whole fall took maybe 5 seconds at most. But this conversation was very vivid. And when I came to 4 weeks later, I realized that this was an actual dialogue between myself, my family. And because my relationship with my father was so close, that's the one that I managed to get through to him. And I am very convinced that it was a prayer that was answered. Because when I came to, there was no injury to my head, my brain was intact, I was very alert. My body was in shambles. So that's when I made my peace that yes, I'm gonna join you guys. But and now I have no quarrel about death whatsoever. I can't say I'm looking forward for it. I am not, but I think I have a path to go through. But if death comes anytime, I know what to expect. I know I'm gonna join some people that we used to love. And that brings me to my next thing in this presentation. In Surah Al-Waqa, Surah 56 in the Quran, there has been a 3-word ayah, verse, that has been taunting me maybe since my early 20s. And the ayah says, for those who can understand Arabic, وَكُنْتُمْ أَزْوَاجًا ثَلَاثًا. And you were paired in 3 categories. When I looked into all the translation, and I have done that here when I was a chaplain at the University of Alberta, for years, we did comparative study for the Quran English translation. And I had so many scholars, PhDs, reverends, trying to understand different translation of the Quran, different interpretations. And I could never come across anybody that addressed this issue of pairing. we always address the issue of categorizing the human race into three categories. These three categories are the righteous, the unfortunate, and those who are far, far ahead, closer to the Creator in heavens. Or they will be brought closer to the Creator in heavens or stationed closer. But all the translation addressing the categories, the three categories of people. None could address the burial till I understood, putting 1 and 2 together, that the burial is always within us. And that's when the Quran talks about the resurrection. And if you recall in my previous presentations, I said people expect the resurrection to be that people will come out from graves. But I think what stays alive or what stays after death is the spiritual being. That's where the communication stops, but the existence doesn't. People or spirits stay in the realm beyond, in the world that we have no way of getting through. That barrier, which in the Quran is called barzakh, the barrier between death and life. I think in the Bible it's called the limbo. In Judaism it's called purgatory. It's just
No, Christianity.
purgatory. Okay. Or so where's the limbo come?
Oh, a more Eastern religion,
Okay.
I think.
Just
Only if you're Catholic though, right?
Sorry?
Only if you're Catholic.
No,
right?
no.
just the word.
Yeah, I can just.
I'm talking the word.
It's a waiting.
Pardon me?
It's a waiting.
Yeah,
It's waiting in Eastern religion.
which I basically say beyond, because this barrier, from my experience in the accident, I found that. And from our okay, Bob Ergel has joined us.
No, he's been there all along. It's somebody's iPhone, but Bob was there from the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
Bob
see,
is there?
Yeah.
Bob was there the whole
Oh, it's
time.
an
Hi,
iPhone.
Bob. But there's an iPhone has
Okay.
joined us. We don't know what that is.
All right, so anyways, I lost my train of thought.
Well, if you.
Yeah,
Have you
the barrier.
interacted with other people and have you had conversations with them about their near-death experience, and have they said that they conversed or they were with their loved ones? Is that a common
Yeah,
trend?
I have had close friends telling me about the two experiences. The near-death experience, which I have been through, and the out-of-body experience, which I haven't been through.
Oh, okay.
The near-death experience, a friend of mine was crossing the street and got hit by a car, and he was in coma for 5 days. The only thing he recalls that he was walking with a group of people.
بتجيب أغاني ولا
Yes, I've been having trouble joining game, but they got it.
صوتك عالي قوي، لكن اهلا بيك، فخليك معانا لغايه ما نخلص. So
That's interesting.
Okay.
The difference. I put near death with out of body.
No, that's why I'm telling,
Yeah.
that's what I'm telling, the two experiences that I have talked to the people that went through it. Of course, I read a lot of books about it,
Yeah.
right? But that fellow who went in coma for 45 days
Yeah.
said that the only thing he recalls in this experience, that he was walking with a group of people dressed only in the pilgrimage attire, which if you see people around Mecca, the only thing they wear is just two towels. One around the waist and one around the top. And he was dressed like them, walking with them in that direction. And somebody told him, it's not your time yet. And he woke up. So for all his being in coma, did not recall anything except for that pilgrimage pass.
Yeah.
The other fellow that told me about his out-of-body experience, which I heard more than once and read about it, which when he was, this fellow is operating right now with 12% of his heart.
Oh, wow.
He's being just being cared for. He had two defibrillators and just the whole thing, but he has been like that for years. So he told me about when he was in his bed and all the medical staff's looking after him, trying to, and he could just,
He was watching.
he was up where the ceiling is, watching them, reviving him, working on him, and all of a sudden he was sucked back. So these are two different experiences, for sure. So so all what I am saying at this point, that again, life is a continuum. Death is a temporary thing. We experience that every day when we go to sleep, where both our entities go into dormancy. But this is not a solid behind the barrier experience, because you can dream, you can communicate, you can see visions, you can be tricked into things, you can see nightmares, you can see, I mean, it's just a glimpse of what's out there. But we do that daily, we wake up, keep going. Of the experiences like I had, the coma, my friends had, and other people had, and the whole thing, it's like, it's just you go into dormancy. By the time your body is healed, maybe by the time your soul is healed, by the time it's just whatever, but you are put together or you are in together, and then you come back into life again. But when it is the actual death aspect, and I'm saying it in this manner is because I am allowing for the reincarnation aspect of life. The only thing I am envisioning is that when people die, they separate completely. The two entities separate completely. But when they rejoin, it is not as if the body is going to go back to the soul that it used to be. I think it is the soul that is going to rematerialize from earthly material again, which could be, that's where people could be reborn again. If they are somehow this soul, same soul went into a womb and acquired a different set of material body that when I keep through. So the aspect of reincarnation is very, and it is in the Quran, in different places, just. So the whole concept of different religions really should leave the practice aside and go into the core of the understanding of the philosophy of what religion is. And I would imagine they are gonna all lead to the same conclusion. It's not that we are breaking down into different human race concepts. It is the same concept. It is the same everything. It's just when people take over, newer generations tend to break down things to the point beyond understanding or beyond communication. And I'm seeing now all the newer generations are just turning their back on religion, where if we can actually marry religion to science, we can come into a mainstream concept that puts us all in peace. But we have to communicate to it, have to dialogue to it. And that's why this interface thing, since inception, has been a good thing for me since I came to Canada. It was a way to communicate with people, away from want and away from anything else. So I think we have to close here by just one statement. We really don't know where we came from. And we really don't know where we're going. But where do we go from here?
Well, thank you. Any more comments from our audience? Guy?
Tell us about your art object.
Oh, okay. This is, okay. Thanks, Guy. James came up with that to just show different perspectives, that all these lines, like you can see a curvy line and a straight line, but if you go like this, the curvy line becomes straight, the straight line becomes curvy. So it is all a matter of how you look at things, and how you conceive them and how you interpret them. But at the end of the day, we're all human beings that want to understand where things are. Thank you all.
Well, yeah, thank you.
Unless somebody has a question.
Pat has.
Yeah. No,
Matt?
Well, mine is more of a comment. Can you hear me?
Sure, yeah.
Very good.
Right.
Yep, yep.
Okay, I've got COVID and so my throat's sore. I just wanted to affirm what you're saying. I too had a near-death experience. I was in an airplane accident, and we were on the ground for quite a few hours before we were rescued. And the sense of the body and the spirit being separate, I had a sense that we were going somewhere, that we were getting birthed. We were, at one point when they came to get us out, I didn't want them to, because I was in a gentle place. I was going somewhere that was really special. And hear all this frenetic yelling and screaming and trying to get in, and they went in the wrong way and all this sort of stuff. Go away and leave me alone. I'm going somewhere. And I had that image, and in the Christian faith, this is not part of our images, but I gather it is in some of the faiths, that I was in a boat and I was crossing an unknown ocean. And I just wanted to affirm what you're saying about the spirit and the body being something different. I didn't have a choice. They rescued us. But anyway.
Did you feel any pain?
Patricia, any pain? Were you in pain?
Yes, I was not huge amount of pain. As it turns out, I had a broken wrist and blood. I knew there was blood all over my face, but I there the pain was not overwhelming. It was there, but it wasn't overwhelming.
Wasn't the main focus. You were focusing into where you were going, right?
Well, I didn't try to focus at all. I was lying beside the man I loved, and we were both together, and this was going to be our last journey together. And it was okay because I was with the person I loved. So there wasn't any fear. There was just, this may be the reality and this may be our last. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
You mentioned back in June that you had survived a plane crash and you were the pilot of the plane. And
Yeah.
I would love to know more about that whenever you're ready, as you know. And also, Sheikh, you've opened this whole topic of how do we, your first sentence almost today was, how do we live knowing we're going to die? This is one of possibly the biggest existential question. And for all the people who don't believe in a creator God, which are a few billion people in the world, they have a different answer. So maybe this could be a topic for us to further explore in the future as a panel discussion, a webinar, whatever they would be called, of people from different faiths saying, how do we deal with this reality?
Sure, let's just
I think it would be great. Yeah.
Schedule a panel and address that.
And I will say thank you and goodbye. It doesn't mean we have to leave, but I'll say goodbye formally and also tell you that please check our website. All of you are members except for a couple of you, and a couple aren't in the country, so it doesn't do you much good. But we do have the first week of February is World Interfaith Harmony Week. We have an event scheduled for every day. One of the events is Sheikh's third talk on this topic. We have a concert. We have a week's worth of activities. So please keep an eye on our website. And of course, if you're a member, you will get an email. Thank you so much for being here today. Anyone else? We still have a few minutes. If anyone else wants to add anything,
We
please.
will stop the recording, but
Sure.
we are here if there's any discussion.
Sure.
Even a comment or I always like to hear feedback so I don't feel out of place.
Yeah. And Paul, the work you do, you and, oh, I've forgotten her name. She was your colleague at the University Hospital. She moved away a few years ago. You presented once at lunch and learned about chaplaincy. And I think maybe it's time for us to do another session like that if you'd be willing.
We could certainly do something like that. I just want to say thank you, Sheikh. I've got to run to another meeting, but thank you so much for your sharing and yeah, just an amazing experience that you've gone through, and I really appreciate your reflections on it.
Thank you.
And wonderful to see everybody again. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you all. I think we got to the point. Rilla, you were kind of late, so you missed out the bulk of it, but there's always the next time.
Yeah. Well, and we are going to put it on. Have we stopped recording?
I'm trying to find the stop recording button. I can't find it.
Yeah, because I don't.
I'm just gonna end it.
Usually gives you a little red. Yeah, just end it. Usually gives you a little red. Oh, there we are. You see that little red thing.